Make no mistake, I love indoor growing just as much as the next guy. Stable temperatures, controlled conditions, and usually a more predictable outcome.
However, not all crops grow better indoors. In fact, for certain ones, they shouldn't even be attempted.
This is almost always due to those plants needing a winter rest period to complete their life cycle and thus create the harvest. And we're not just talking about the cool weather crops.
Like these cauliflower here. No, I mean the biennials and perennials that absolutely need to chill out for 3 to 5 months every winter, or they will literally fail as a plant. So today, I've got 5 such plants, 5 crops that should never be grown indoors, nor should they be brought inside to escape the winter. It may feel like you're doing them good, but in fact, you're taking away the very thing that they need to actually produce a harvest.
I know it may be a bit of an eye roll, but whenever we're confused with gardening and growing plants, it's never a bad thing to turn to science.
The act of going dormant over winter for the purpose of stimulating flowering and thus fruiting is known botanically as vernalization.
It's described as the induction of the plant's flowering process by prolonged exposure to cold.
And the first plant on our list to never grow indoors or even bring inside are our beloved blueberries.
Perennial temperate bushes that embrace the cold like no other, and just so happen to set their flower buds virtually in the dead of winter. Blueberries come in 2 main types, high bush and low bush, with near unlimited varieties of each. They can be grown just as easily in containers as they can in the ground, with their only real requirements being consistent moisture and a relatively acidic soil. Blueberries are impressive plants, no doubt, especially as they get older, reaching tall bush or even small tree status, and they can live upwards of 30 plus years.
And at no point should they ever be brought inside. Blueberries are an outdoor plant through and through. Just like our strawberries are as well. Although with these guys, the temptation to bring them inside can be even greater.
These guys are also true perennials, but they lack the woody branches and stems that the blueberries have. Lush, trifoliate leaves that absolutely explode with growth every spring once the temperatures thaw out above freezing. Sometimes even before that.
And because of this, they really respond to indoor growing. The warm, stable temperatures of inside turn these guys near evergreen.
But don't be fooled. The temptation to grow them inside, keep them inside, or bring them inside once the temperatures dip below freezing is great. I get it. But if you want any chance at a berry harvest, you gotta avoid this. Just like with our blueberries, without that winter chill, they won't flower and they won't fruit. No amount of lush green foliage is gonna make up for no berries. As one of the most prolific crops that we look forward to in the garden every spring and summer, if we didn't get any strawberries, that would be tragic.
Avoid this pitfall and leave those strawberry plants outside. Continuing on our berry way, we've got our raspberries, kind of in between the blueberries and strawberries. Tall like a tree, but stalks, stems, and leaves that just don't last year after year.
In fact, those stalks and stems, known as canes, live exactly 2 years. This is because raspberries are known as biennials, and for any given plant or patch at any given time, there's going to be 2 different types of canes present. Prima canes, the ones that have sprouted up in the current year, and floricanes, the ones that sprouted up last year and that have already endured a winter dormancy. When pruning a cane-type crop like raspberries, which we always do around wintertime, we never touch the prima-canes. This is because these shoots have not even had a chance to produce for us yet.
As you may have guessed, it's those 2-year-old floricanes that have gone through a winter, been vernalized, that bear all the fruit. And because of this, if you want your strawberry harvest to amount to anything, they have to be grown outdoors 365 days a year.
Those delicious, velvety aggregate fruits simply won't form because there won't be any flowers to turn into them. Trust me, I've tried to trick these plants every which way. Growing your blueberries, strawberries, or raspberries indoors will not yield you any success.
Speaking of success, you'd think that root crops like these onions here would also be off limits. But honestly, other than the space constraints of growing inside, they probably do just fine.
Same with potatoes, sweet potatoes, and even ginger root. All root crops that I've grown indoors with great success.
But not all root crops are created equal, and certainly not all root crops are suitable to be grown indoors, as is evident by the last two plants on this list. The first of those is our spring bulbs.
Tulips, daffodils, crocuses, and hyacinths, all requiring a winter chill, and without it, you'll simply get no blooms. Like every other plant on this list, they require that winter vernalization to start the flowering process.
And despite their name, spring bulbs are planted right now before the ground freezes so that they can get established before winter hits.
Truly, the only way to enjoy your flowering spring bulbs indoors is to bring them inside as cut flowers. Spring bulbs are a whole world unto themselves. Check out this video here for a deeper dive.
And our fifth and final plant on our list of crops to never grow indoors or never even bring them inside is, of course, our garlic, specifically the hardneck kind.
Planted in the fall from that season's harvest, hardneck garlic overwinters in the ground, silently creating an epic root network, only to sprout up the following spring and then harvested that summer. A cool 9 to 10 months after first planting, split up by that winter vernalization.
Now, this one can be tricked to grow inside by vernalizing the bulbs in a fridge or even the freezer, but in my experience, the success rate seems to be lower than the garlic that's simply just grown outside. And for a crop that takes nearly a year to grow, it hardly seems worth the risk.
One way around this is to grow the soft neck varieties of garlic. They don't require a vernalization to bulb up, and they complete their life cycle much faster in about 4 to 5 months. Again though, when comparing with growing it outside, you'll have to weigh whether or not it's worth it.
What is worth it though is recapping all the plants that we covered on today's list so that we don't mistakenly bring them inside.
Indoor gardening is awesome. It's fun and it's often fruitful. And while it can be for everyone, it's not necessarily for every plant.
If there's a crop you've been wondering about and whether or not it's possible to grow it indoors, drop a comment down below and start a discussion. We just might find our next project. Hey, happy growing, guys, and I'll see you soon.